والحمد لله كثيرا وسبحان الله بكرة وأصيلا وصلى الله تعالى على سيدنا ومولانا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Allah Rabbul Alameen has blessed this ummah with another year in which the month of Dhul Hijjah has been granted to us, its barakah, its rahmah, its enormous and elevated status is mentioned in the Quran and in the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And alhamdulillah, today is the day of Hajj as well. Sayyiduna Jabir radiyallahu ta'ala anh, he narrates that when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had spent 9 years in Madinatul Munawwara, in the 10th year, he made the intention that he will perform Hajj. And as soon as our noble Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam made that announcement, made that intention known to his companions, Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhim ajma'in, Sayyidina Jabir radiyallahu ta'ala anh says that many tens of thousands of the believers, the mu'mineen, they started to gather in Madinatul Munawwara from Ash-Sham, from Yemen, from African countries, and they pitched their tents in Madinatul Munawwara similar to how you see the tents pitched in Mina. Tens of thousands of people were in Mina, in Madinatul Munawwara, waiting for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam to embark on this journey, to undertake this journey of Hajj. And Sayyidina Jabir radiyallahu ta'ala then narrates that on the 12th, 25th of Dhul Qa'dah, the previous month that we've just witnessed, on the 25th of that month, our noble Master alayhi salatu wasalam left Madinatul Munawwara. He prayed Zuhr in Al-Masjid al-Nabawi, his noble blessed masjid, and then he traveled to Zul Hulayfa, at the outskirts of Madinatul Munawwara. And then Sayyidina Jabir says that he bathed and he showered, and afterwards Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam dressed himself in 2 unstitched pieces of clothing, white cloth, which is known as al-ihram, and his ihram was brought from Yemen. Yemen has this beautiful honor that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he used to address the Friday Jumah khutbah, he used to wear a special jubba, which was a Yemeni jubba. And when he dressed in ihram, he dressed in ihram which was a Yemeni ihram. But the important thing to remember that that ihram was indistinguishable from any other ihram. It was not any superior in quality. It was not more expensive. It was just like the ihram of all of the other Hujjaj, all of the other pilgrims, all of the other Sahaba Kiram. And Sayyidina Jabir radiyallahu ta'ala says that then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam boarded his camel, Al-Qaswa, the camel on which he had traveled to Madinatul Munawwara, the famous camel. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was traveling from Makkah al-Mukarramah, from Madinah al-Munawwarah to Makkah al-Mukarramah, and he said, wherever I saw, the furthest that my eye could see, all I could see was a sea of white. Thousands upon thousands of people were traveling with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he wasn't traveling at the front. He wasn't saying that I am your leader, you all follow me behind. And he was traveling amongst them. He said Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was amongst us. He was in between. There was Sahaba Ikram on the right, Sahaba Ikram on the left, Sahaba Ikram to the front and to the back. Amongst Sahaba Ikram, he then visited Al-Makkah al-Mukarramah. When he entered Makkah al-Mukarramah, he stayed at the outskirts overnight. And then in the morning, he entered Makkah al-Mukarramah. He never entered a city at night time. With his large group that was entering with him, they entered during the day. And when he entered the holy Kaaba, he performed tawaf 7 times. He did sa'i of Safa and al-Marwa 7 times. And then he pitched his tent near the grave of Sayyida Khadija al-Kubra radiyallahu ta'ala. Even though he had lived in Makkah al-Mukarramah for 53 years. Makkah was his home. But this is the devotion he had to Sayyida Khadija al-Kubra, that he pitched his tent near the grave of Sayyida Khadija al-Kubra radiyallahu ta'ala anha. And then on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, on the 8th of this blessed month, he traveled to Mina, and then he traveled to Arafat on the 9th. And in the plains of Arafat, he delivered his final khutbah, which is famous throughout the world, and a khutbah in which he addressed the entire mankind. And I shall have the honor of reciting and repeating the words of our noble Master alayhi salatu wasalam, and thereafter translating them. Our noble Master sallallahu alayhi wasallam stated, "Ba'd alhamdulillahi wa thana'i alayhi." He said, after praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, "Ayyuhan nas, inna dima'akum وأموالكم عليكم حرام إلى أن تلقوا ربكم كحرمة يومكم هذا في شهركم هذا وفي بلدكم هذا." He said to the believers, he said, just like this day, O believers, O people, just like this day. First of all, he said, O people, lend me an attentive ear. Listen to me carefully. For I know not whether after this year I shall ever be amongst you again. Therefore listen to what I am saying to you very carefully, and take these words to those who could not be present here today. He said, O people, just as you regard this month, this day, and this city as sacred. Look at the day, 9th of Dhul Hijjah, Yawm al-Arafah. Look at the city, Makkah al-Mukarramah. Look at the month, Dhul Hijjah, and look who is delivering the khutbah, Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, just as you regard this month, this day, and this city as sacred, so regard the life and property of every single Muslim as a sacred trust. As a sacred trust. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, return the goods entrusted to you to their rightful owners. And I shall refer to the Arabic text as well, the actual words of our noble Master alayhi salatu wassalam. And he says, وَإِنَّكُمْ سَتَلْقَوْنَ رَبَّكُمْ فَيَسْأَلُكُمْ عَنْ أَعْمَالِكُمْ وَقَدْ بَلَّغْتُ وَمَنْ كَانَ عِنْدَهُ أَمَانَةٌ فَلْيَرُدَّهَا لِمَنْ ائْتَمَنَهُ عَلَيْهَا وَإِنَّا كُلَّ رِبًا مَوْضُوعٌ وَلَكِنْ لَكُمْ رُؤُوسُ أَمْوَالِكُمْ وَلَا تَظْلِمُونَ وَلَا تُظْلَمُونَ. And he said, hurt no one so that no one may hurt you. So first and foremost, he says that the honor and the wealth, the possessions of another Muslim are sacred, and then he gives the advice to be al-amin, to be trustworthy. He says, return the goods entrusted to you. Somebody gives you something, return it to them, to their rightful owner. Hurt no one so that no one may hurt you. Remember that you will indeed meet your Lord, and that He will indeed reckon your deeds. Allah has forbidden you to take usury interest. He declared that usury was haram. Interest was haram. Interest is the evil by which the richer get more rich and the people who are poor, they get more poorer. And this is continuing until the world realizes this, especially the Muslim world. He stated, therefore, all interest obligations shall henceforth be waived. Your capital, however, is yours to keep. You will neither inflict nor suffer any inequity. Allah has judged that there shall be no interest, and that all of the interest due to, first and foremost, he started with his family. He said, all of the interest due to Sayyidina Abbas ibn al-Muttalib radiyallahu anhu, the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, shall henceforth be waived. So when you start a good deed, you lead by example. You start from your own household. This is what our noble Master alayhi salatu wasalam said. He said, beware of shaitan for the safety of your religion. For the safety of your religion, beware of his tactics. He has lost all hope that he will ever be able to lead you astray in big things. So beware of following him in small things. What we classify as small things, we say, oh, this is just fun and games. This is just something on the side. This is not haram. This is exactly what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned us against. Be aware of the small things. And no deed is a small deed. Do not think of any deeds as inferior. He said, oh people, it is true that you have certain rights with regards to your women. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke in relation to the rights of women. Look at how many human rights and women's rights campaigners there are, organizations there are. 1500 years earlier, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke in relation to the rights of women. He said, but they also have rights over you. You have rights over them, they have rights over you. Remember that you have taken them as your wives only under Allah Rabbul Alameen's trust and with His permission. If they abide by your right, then to them belongs the right to be fed and clothed in kindness. Do treat your women well and be kind to them, for they are your partners and committed helpers, and it is your right that they should not make any friends with anyone whom you do not approve. So it is their responsibility to make sure that their dignity is intact and they remain loyal to you and faithful to you, and it is your responsibility to fulfill their obligations and needs. He said, oh people, listen to me in earnest, worship Allah Rabbul Alameen, say your 5 daily prayers, salah, fast during the month of Ramadan and give your wealth in zakat, perform hajj if you can afford to. All mankind is from Adam alayhi salam and Sayyida Hawa. He said, all of mankind is from your parents, Sayyidina Adam and Sayyida Hawa. And an Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab. And a non-Arab has no superiority over an Arab. Also, a white person has no superiority over a black person. No black person has any superiority over a white person except by piety. Taqwa is the only means by which your status is elevated and good action. Learn that every Muslim is a brother to every Muslim, and that the Muslims constitute one brotherhood. Nothing shall be legitimate to a Muslim which belongs to a fellow Muslim unless it has been given freely and willingly. Do not therefore do injustice to yourselves. Remember, one day you will appear before Allah Rabbul Alameen and answer your deeds. So beware, do not stray from the path of righteousness after I am gone. O people, no prophet or apostle will come after me, and no new faith shall be born. Reason well therefore, O people, and understand words which I have conveyed to you. I leave behind me 2 things, the Quran and my Sunnah, my example, my Sunnah. If you follow them, these will never allow you to go astray. All those who listen to me shall pass on the words to those others again, and may the last ones understand my words better than those who listen to me directly. Be my witness, O Allah, that I have conveyed your message to your people. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's last sermon, the khutbah on his farewell Hajj, is a constitution for the entire humanity. It is the first declaration which eradicates racism. Even in this day and age, you ask one of the world leaders to say these words and they will hesitate, because in that country there is injustice that happens. Black people are not treated the same as white people. Asian people are not treated the same as people who are resident in these lands. It does not happen even today. But 1500 years ago, our noble Prophet ﷺ, he eradicated racism. He did not just use the words to say no black person is superior to a white person, and no white person is superior to a black person, no Arab is superior to a non-Arab, and no non-Arab is superior to an Arab. He did not just say these words. When Makkatul Mukarramah was conquered, at the time of Fath Makkah, the person who rose to the roof of the Holy Kaaba was Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu ta'ala. Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu ta'ala, who used to be targeted and persecuted in the streets of Makkatul Mukarramah. And in the last sermon, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam eliminated all forms of tribalism. Tribalism was inherent and deep-rooted in the society of Makkatul Mukarramah. Their entire source of pride was the tribe that you belonged to. If you were Bani Hashim, you had a certain status. If you were Bani Umayyah, you had a certain status. If you were Quraysh, you were superior than anyone else. So it was tribalism, and it was deep-rooted, and their superiority was based on this tribalism. He eradicated tribalism. And he also mentioned that all of the blood that is being revenged upon since many, many decades and many, many centuries, that has ended. He said all of the practices of the age of ignorance are under my feet. He crushed all of the practices of the age of ignorance, including tribalism, nationalism, racism. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's religion, his deen, is practiced every time we stand in salah. You look at the brother next to you, you may not know him, but he is a brother. He is equal in the eyes of Allah Rabbul Alameen. He stands with you. There is no superiority in the masjid, there is no superiority in Haram, and there is no superiority in the plains of Arafah. Everyone is equal. Everyone dresses in the same way. People come from all over the world in front of one Allah Rabbul Alameen, in one place, and as one ummah. And this is the greatness of Islam, that all forms of prejudice have been eliminated, have been eradicated. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke about finances, spoke about usury, spoke about the evil of interest, spoke about women's rights. So he also spoke about slaves' rights. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's sermon is a constitution to the entire mankind, and until the day of judgment. And it was an occasion where many of the Sahaba Ikram, many Sahaba Ikram became Sahabi on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah and on the final Hajj. Many thousands, and approximately 144,000 people took part in the final Hajj of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And just as he said that the people who listen to me should pass the message on to those people who are not present, and then they should pass on his message. What I have done today is fulfill the command and order of my Master alayhi salatu wasalam. He had ordered that his message should be conveyed, his words should be conveyed. And finally, I will mention that the Yawmul Arafah, even though Hajj is taking place today, Yawmul Arafah for us, the 9th of Dhul Hijjah for us, is tomorrow. And those of you who are fasting today, alhamdulillah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. But the Yawmul Arafah fast is tomorrow. Please ensure, try your very best, unless you have an illness, unless you have an exemption, to fast tomorrow. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said that when you fast on the day of Arafah, the sins of your previous year and the sins of the year that is to come are forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not free any more people from the hellfire than on the day of Arafah. So today is a blessed day, it is a Hajj day, it is Yawmul Jumah, it is Yawmul Eid for us. And tomorrow is Yawmul Arafah for us, it is Yawmul Eid. And when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam finished his address, when he completed his khutbah, then Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam came and he revealed the final ayah, final part of the Holy Quran. Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakum al-islam dina. On this day I have completed your religion for you, and I have completed my favor upon you, and I am pleased for you to choose the religion of Islam for you. Inna ad-dina 'inda Allah al-Islam. Islam shall prevail because of its universal message. Islam shall prevail because of its pure message, of its guidance. And we all often think that how will Islam prevail in these lands and in this day and age when so much has been written and so much has been done against Islam, all of the Islamophobia. And the answer is given by Allah Rabbul Alameen. هُوَ الَّذِي أَرْسَلَ رَسُولَهُ بِالْهُدَى وَدِينِ الْحَقِّ لِيُظْهِرَهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ. That this, Allah is the one who sent His messenger bil-huda, with guidance. وَدِينِ الْحَقِّ. How will Islam spread? Because it is guidance. It is the only true guidance for the entire mankind. Islam will spread because it is the religion of guidance, and Islam will spread وَدِينِ الْحَقِّ because Islam is the true religion. Islam is the truth, and that is why Islam should prevail. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept the Hajj of the Hujjaj Kiram. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unite this ummah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to fast on the day of Arafah tomorrow. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept the supplications, the du'as, and make tomorrow, use the day to recite the Holy Quran, to pray nawafil as much as you can, to engage yourself in dua as much as you can. It is mentioned that after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam completed his khutbah, he raised his hands so much that his armpits, blessed armpits, were visible, and the light was shining from them. His hands were raised high up until Maghrib time. After he finished in the khutbah, he was constantly engaged in dua, constantly engaged in supplications to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the tawfiq to do so. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alamin.